All right, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the 13th edition of the Penta Podcast. I'm ShaDeSLaYeR. Joining me is renowned shoutcaster and my dear friend Terence Yong, aka icybaby12. Icy, what's up, buddy? How are you doing, my man?
I'm feeling good, and I'm excited to be here doing a little bit of podcast here to share a little bit of a story. But all in all, this is gonna be a pretty chill and fun one. I miss you. It's been like so long.
Likewise, I see. We've met at a couple of events, but we've not really gotten to talk a lot. Hopefully, today is that day and that opportunity where we get you to probably try and spill the beans a little, but we will get to the spicy part in a minute. We will first start off, of course, with the name itself, right? Your IGN, icybaby12. What's the story behind that?
The story is I like picking up goals. So icybaby12 was something that I kind of used back in the days because it's I C and then a baby and then 1 2 go out with me. Something like that. It was a very cringe one. I was a kid. I didn't know what I was doing about. That's a joke because the real story is that was a random name generator that my cousin had, and I just wanted to play a game. I just changed one letter from Ice Baby to Icy Baby. That's it. That's the real story. But yeah, you don't know how to react.
That actually makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
there was a very popular TV advertisement in India. It was by Whirlpool, and there was a song which they used, which of course exists outside of that ad as well. It's called Ice
Yeah.
Ice Baby. So
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. It was from there. It was from there.
yeah. So I did have an inclination rather that it might be from there, but the first story, you kind of had me in the first half. Not gonna lie. But so yeah, that is icybaby12. Yeah, but so it was a pretty. Even with my IGN, I have a pretty boring story. I just had
Yeah.
my friend in the gaming cafe in the next cubicle, and I was like, "Hey, what name should I keep?" And he goes like ShaDeSLaYeR, because he's a big fan of Aragon, and that's where it comes
Oh
from. So
wow.
yeah, so
Wow.
yeah,
That's an old
I
show.
mean
Like
the name's
Aragon was
good,
good.
but the story is like not so much.
And sorry, Lord of the Rings is better.
All right, perfect. So, moving on, you're of course known best IC for your shoutcasting, right? And a lot of shoutcasters I've talked to, they've had very interesting stories on how they ended up getting into shoutcasting in the first place, right? What's your
Yeah.
story, IC?
Oh wow. Started my career 2014, Christmas Eve.
Wow.
Yeah, 2014, Christmas Eve. 10-year anniversary by the end of this year, Christmas Eve. So how I started was very, very simple. People started because they played games or whatever. I started it because I ended up in a social dating app trying to pick up girls, which is kind of weird because at that time I was just a lonely boy trying to make friends, and I was just swiping my way through. I ended up meeting a girl on social media. On a social app. It's called. Okay, I'm not gonna mention the name. It's a social media app. It's a social dating app. And then got to know her. See, she was troubling. She was a cosplayer at that time, and don't know how I ended up being a manager. After that, being a manager for almost a year to 2 years, I was able to meet some of the clients that were interested into esports, preferred me over her, decided to hire me, and that's how I got into my first ever gig of casting a India Dota 2 tournament for 2 months, every single day, 9 a.m. to 3 a.m. For 2 months exactly, for 100 and USD prize pool. So there was almost 1,300 registered Dota 2 teams just for India for 100 USD prize pool. And the organizers wanted every single team, every single match to be casted. There were some games that were like 30 minutes, some games were 20 minutes. The longest ever game I've casted was 3 hours and 15 minutes. And it was just
Wow.
two teams of 2K MMR players just doing nothing. They just wanted to be on stream.
Was it like a techies game? Don't tell me.
It wasn't even like a techies game where it was so try hard. It's like they were just busy farming creeps and not killing heroes and not doing anything at all.
For all the Dota fans out there, we do have our own versions of burning. For people who know that, yeah, we do like to farm as well, but probably not as much. But which event was this, IC? Do you remember the name?
Okay, it's called Rage Quit Cup Season 2.
Season
It was
3.
live on Season 3 or 2. It was 2 at that. I think it was 3 at that time.
That is where I started my career. 2015 March. Rage Quit Cup Season 3 was announced, and I auditioned and I started casting that. March 2015.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We casted the same. And of course, there was no YouTube stream back then. The casting
It was on
all
Twitch.
in Dota TV.
Wow,
I used to cast it on Dota TV.
How do you know the exact date? It was in March. I was like, that was a long time ago. That is crazy. Wow.
Yeah, I used to cast only in Dota TV back then. So,
Wow. What?
It was Ankit Giant's event. He was the one running it. In fact,
wow. How do you know this, Shade? Like, what? That is
because I started my casting in that event, and I in fact happened to cast the LAN finals in Delhi as well for that event. It happened, I believe, August of that year. I remember the grind, like you said. There was multiple matches. We used to start, I believe, at around 3 p.m. Indian time and do it till like 10 p.m. in the night. We used to have like 6-7 matches to cast every day. So it was a long grind.
You're the only guy that I have met that actually knows something from that time. How the hell do you know shit? I'm pretty sure I didn't tell you about this, but you were telling me like Ankit Jai. I'm like, how do you know that name? I remember that name because he was like one of my first guys that handled me, but I have never met that guy, and you brought it up. I'm like, what? Shane?
It was a very small community, I see. So we knew everyone in the community back in the day, and every event that did happen. So I mean, there was that shows how small of a world it is. Because even I was talking to a dear friend of mine who's my colleague as well, and we just learned that we actually played Dota together for a team back in 2008, and we were like, wow. We've played in the same team, and we didn't even know each other. And well, we've now casted the same event, you and I see. So it's a small world out there.
Okay, it's nice to know something new that I don't remember. But wow, shit, that's crazy. Like now that you brought it up, I was like, you have done your homework. That's crazy.
So and of course, you were talking about how you ended up going on a dating app, and instead of being like, hey, date me, be like, hey, how about I manage you? That's a funny story.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about my dating life just because I'm very bad at socializing, and at that time I didn't really have friends. And in my definition, social dating app, or in this case, social app, was me making out friends. And yeah, it turns out I did make some friends, but I kind of lost touch with all of them as well, so it's okay. So back then I was like a very lonely kid, playing games all the time, and I just didn't have a lot of friends. And yeah, that's pretty much it,
I mean,
yeah.
we didn't have LinkedIn back in the day, but you didn't have to kind of use a dating app to do this.
No, okay, don't get me wrong. At that time, social network was like Facebook, Instagram, and whatever.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't X, there wasn't Twitter, there wasn't like Instagram. It was like a Friendster kind of days here. So the most popular at that time in Malaysia was Facebook. Instagram wasn't like really, really popular at that time. So it was like WeChat and whatever. But again, all those are like WhatsApp messages, right? You don't really meet other people. So at that time, I was looking to play some Dota 2 games. I just want to look for friends and stuff like that. Rather than going for pubs, I just clicked on communities, right? So Facebook, they had this group community like Dota 2, Malaysia Dota 2 community, blah, 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 to look for friends. So I didn't know what was the best app, so I ended up in some of these social apps which also had like Dota communities, and I joined in. But they also offer matchmaking services, which again was pretty fun at that time. And then yeah, that was like, oh okay, that's how I kind of got into Dota, if that makes sense. But yeah, this was like
Ma- eh,
2014.
matchmaking, is it, are we back to talking dating, or is this like ranked matchmaking are we talking about?
Dating matchmaking, but yes, that was in the past, in the past.
So in the dating matchmaking, I see, were you playing unranked or was it ranked?
Practice match. Okay, practice match. Unranked. Unranked. Okay,
Fair,
unranked.
fair. All right. So I mean, so it started with Dota. I'm not too surprised because even when we did connect at Battle Arena, I remember we had a long conversation about Dota 2 and our roots in playing and casting Dota. So
Yeah.
we pretty much, I can completely understand that, the path of starting with Dota, because that itself was like a massive passion. And then of course you did move on to doing
Yeah.
other titles as well. I remember I was casting PUBG PC at that event, and we did talk about PUBG PC casting. You were casting PUBG PC at that time as well, and then you transitioned into PUBG Mobile. How was that entire journey, I see, for you?
Okay, so I started with Dota. I started with CS, and then
Right.
I started with PUBG PC. I think after CS, like these were the two games that I really played a lot at that time. So I had some knowledge, and I had really really good friends that are like tryhards who gives me information. So whatever the information they give me, I absorb it and I kind of use it. But I can also see what other people are doing, right? So while I was casting in between getting jobs here and there, so I worked for a company at that time. Like my first gig was called Genesis, and like this
Right.
EO was the called Genesis and also Orange Esports. These were the two companies that first scouted me out. So after they hired me, it came to a point where they keep reusing me all the time. And at that time, I wasn't just a caster, right? So I was the guy that I could cast, I could set up a lobby, I could observer, I could production, I can do marshal, everything all in one. So back then there wasn't like a dedicated role. Caster just do
Yeah.
this, production do this, marshal do this, blah blah blah. I had to do everything on his own, even the setup from wires and everything. So that's where I kind of launched on to a point where the bosses say like, okay, any gaming event, you have a week, 3 days, go and study the game, go for it. And that's how I kind of started. And then when PUBG PC came, we had the first ever PUBG PC tournament in Malaysia. It was hosted by Orange Esports. Uh, it was pretty janky. It was like very laggy and everything. And at that time, when the game first launched, PCs wasn't super upgraded, so there were a lot of issues, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So again, we tried to do the observer manually, and again, I was the guy doing it. So there was literally one camera instead of multi angles on everything. Uh, it was a disaster, but in the end, the game it was pretty nice. So because of those efforts, people actually kind of knew that hey, this guy is trying something, and then I think the bosses or clients and stuff like that, they started like knowing that hey, there's a caster here who can do anything. Just l- give him the job, he'll figure something out. Like if he says yes, he'll do it, and that's where I got like PUBG PC, and then got into Mobile Legends, got into PUBG Mobile, got into any game. As long as a game or tournament you need an MC, I was the guy. And back then, English MCing was the thing. All right, there was no
Right.
such thing as local language because in gaming in general, the standards for casting at that time was done by TI or Dota TI. Like
Yeah.
people only watch in English. There was no like local language, and then so they used English as a standard. But again,
Correct.
it also came down an issue where people just couldn't understand English. So that's why nowadays we do see a lot of more popularity on towards local languages over English instead. In general,
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
kind of
then,
sidetracked,
and
but
of
yeah,
valid point, I see, because I think a couple of reasons that I see right off the bat. One was, of course, these events were running at a very minimal budget. So
Mm.
as it is, it wasn't like there was a production team that's handling and you're
Yeah.
just a caster. It's you being a one-man army who's doing everything from
Yeah.
the lobby to observing to casting. So there is very little in terms of scope to actually have multiple languages there,
Mm.
and which would require you to have a much larger broadcast
Yep.
pipeline to have multiple
Yep.
languages. So I'm guessing that was one of the primary reasons
Yep.
also why you wouldn't do multiple. And like you said, of course, with there being very minimal opportunities outside of that, it doesn't even give like a good space for
Mm.
regional language talent to come up as well.
Yep.
Because I remember at that point of time, no one even would ask a caster, what language are you? If you were a caster, it was, I
Yep.
think, taken for granted that you cast in English because there was no other language.
Yeah.
So it was kind of that situation. And of course, I remember the Orange Cafe as well. I happened to go there around that point of time. This was back in the day when you had the 10
Yep.
series graphics cards. I believe it was 1050
Yep.
Ti's, 1060
Yep.
graphics
That
cards,
that
which
place no longer exists, by the way. It's a really unfortunate. It's called
I know
Orange
this was
Stadium.
back in the day,
Yeah.
but
That
Orange
was back in
Stadium,
the
it
days.
was a amazing place, man. It
Yeah.
was beautiful, with that stage straight up front,
I
where
know, right? It was
it
just
was like a
COVID kind
proper
of messed things up, but yeah, I get what you mean.
correct.
It was a really nice time, but like a lot of memories kind of went down the drain. But it's all is good, all is good. It's fine. We've moved on from
Right.
the small stage now. We've got the big events now.
Yeah, it's gotten much bigger now. And
Mm,
we've kind of, I think back in the day when we said events, there were only far and few where it would actually happen at a venue. It was more
mhm.
or less assumed that, it's going to be in one of the cafes. And of course, with Malaysia, there was massive cafes everywhere,
Mm.
right? It's like there's
Yep,
Minaski, Orange is like one next to the other, and
yep,
they're all like 50 to 100 seater cafes. So
yep.
it kind of moved out of that, it moved into people's homes, and now
Hmm.
by LAN, you know that it is going to be at one of the bigger venues. So it's
Yep.
seen a massive transition since PUBG Mobile also. I see you've grown a lot in your time casting PUBG Mobile. You even were featured in a video by Tencent. Uh, how did that growth happen, and is that something that you look back with fond memories today?
Oh, of course. Even until today, I always think about what we did in China because at that time, this was before COVID, before the bans, before anything else. PUBG Mobile was actually like they had to fly every single region, right? Southeast Asia, Malaysia teams, and everything. They even fly the casters to have a production house in China itself, in Taichung. So all of us were staying in the same hotel. Uh, a majority of them could not speak Mandarin, so none of us were going out of hotels. We ended up staying there for 6 weeks, just inside a
Right.
hotel, and we have nobody else but each other to kind of rely on, right? And I, fortunately enough, I was able to speak Mandarin, so it was easy for me to communicate with production, communicate with players, also communicate with people outside, like they need food, they want to cut their hair, blah blah blah, stuff like that. So because of this, I was able to make a lot of friends, and because we were so bored sitting in a hotel, I ended up doing content about players, content about this, just recording stuff because fans out of nowhere just said, "Hey, you guys on BMCO, can you ask this guy this question? Ask this guy this question, ask this guy." And I kept doing a lot of content on RRQ early at that time, and I did
Right.
a lot of content on Illuminate the Murders Mad Toy, and I did a lot of content on Biu Biu from Malaysia as well. So this was one of the very three main ones that a lot of people who contacted me on Instagram says like, "Hey, let's do this content." I'm like, "Okay, sure, I'll do it," and it became a instead of just me having fun, it became of me being a servant. Where one day I would post almost 20 to 40 Instagram stories, and it became
Right.
a popular thing that people would actually save my stories just to watch it back on how the days of
Wow.
a pro player was like throughout every single day, right? So I didn't really thought of it or something. I just thought like somebody asked me to do something, I did it, and it just kept going on from there. Yeah, it was
Man.
a pretty fun time. Like again, I loved my boys back then. a lot of people, even until this day, people come up to me, PMCO, those days were the best time compared to now, you know?
And just to add a little bit of context for the viewers, IC is talking about pre-COVID, right? That was
Yep.
when at tournaments, having these reels, having content around players, interviews, small little tidbits was not like a norm. Back then, it was like,
Mhm.
you have your standard broadcast.
Yep.
Social media pretty much meant, hey, when is the tournament happening? Where is it happening? Where can you watch it? And what are the results? I think that was pretty much all that was covered in
Yep.
social media. There never really was like,
Mhm.
hey, let's just get a quick 30-second tidbit from this player, right?
Mhm.
And such kind of access was very hard to come by.
Yep.
So great that I see you managed to get some content out like that at that point of time. I'm sure that was
Yeah.
invaluable to the viewers as well at that time who couldn't really get access to
Yeah.
such information, right? That's
Mhm.
beautiful, man. And then, of course, you were an absolute star in PUBG Mobile. Everyone in SEA knew who icybaby12 was. But your journey in the Indian scene started with the launch party that
Mhm.
BGMI did when BGMI was launched back in 2021 in July.
Yep.
Uh, how was your experience making that transition and casting BGMI for the Indian audience? I see.
To be honest, at that time, I don't know what I was experiencing, right? So I think at that time I was a stage where, oh, I'm a professional now. Another tournament comes in, I will just do what I can. You know, I just do what I would do, which is bring the hype, bring the energy, and then just enjoy watching a good game or good play, right? So when the launch party kind of happened, I wasn't really thinking a lot. I was just like, oh, a launch party means nobody has seen this game. Yes,
Yeah.
technically we've seen it in other region, but BGMI was first came out, and I was like, oh, it's kind of had similarities. But I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna watch this and then pretend it's my first time seeing this. And then my co-caster has experience playing the PC, which is allowed. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. And then we just kind of launched it, right? So was it great? I don't think so. It was a bit weird. Productions are a little bit shaky here and there, but we just kind of winged it. And then eventually, oh, it launched. People started liking it. But was there hype? I have no clue, to be honest. I
It
really
was,
have no
I
clue.
mean, that till date is the most watched esports event broadcast in India till date. It still is higher than what BMPS numbers were. So,
I
yes, it is number
never
one
knew.
today.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It had
All right. That was
close
news to me. Okay.
it had close to 20 million plus views with a peak CCV of about 550K watching at the time. So, uh, of course, most of it was on the Hindi broadcast. So, sorry
Okay.
about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Now it makes more sense. All right. Also, I was like,
yeah, but
huh.
it was something
Okay.
like 480K on the Hindi and the rest across
Okay.
other
Now it
languages.
makes more
So,
sense.
yeah, but uh, truth be said, of course, there was very little in terms to prep for that as well because it wasn't professional teams playing that. It was one streamers and their fun teams that were playing it,
Mm,
and secondly, they hadn't played the game for about 9 months, so there was like not
mm.
much of data to go in as well. So it was kind of wing it, but it was a super fun event nonetheless. Started you off on your journey, and then I see you've become sort of like the face of the English desk ever since for BGMI. You did BGIS 2023 finals in Mumbai, and of course, the recently concluded BMPS 2024 grand finals in Kochi. Let's first talk about BGIS 2023. How was your experience casting that event, I see, on LAN in India?
To be honest,
To
that
a
was the
massive audience, I
most.
might add.
I think the audience didn't really matter to me because I was used to casting like a big audiences in Malaysia, but it didn't really matter to me because my voice wasn't the ones that they're worrying about, right? So I just need to write off whatever the onset is talking about like maybe Hindi, Malay, or whatever language countries I'm at, and I just write off those energy and just cast over it. But again, the biggest shock for me was that the amount of people and how passionate they are to meet their favorite players or even casters, right? They would react to anything, and I'm like, damn, this is how we are getting appreciated by their fans. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a good player or a bad player, as long as they made it on the stage and production, they would just cheer for you because we like this is for everyone. Like, this is the biggest thing ever. And in my mind, I was like, wow, Southeast Asia don't get this kind of love. And for me, it was like India's support from the community is on a different level. Like, really, they would go through like neck and tin, like just to support the event. They would do anything just for it, which is insane.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's night and day when there is a LAN that
Yeah.
happens in India, and it is a BGMI LAN versus any other game, right? Uh, Massive fan following, and I'm sure we will get to it a little later as well. You got to see the X-Park fans, the Godlike fans who got to see Godlike after 3+ years on LAN. Very
Yeah.
passionate bunch. Uh, must have been crazy there. So, if I had to pick, uh, actually, you know what? We'll get to that a little later. Let's just keep picking your brains more. So that's
Mhm.
two big events, right? There was BGIS
Yeah.
2023, and then there was BMPS 2024. Between that, we did have BMPS 2023 and BGIS 2024. Why did we see you there, I see?
I not gonna get into details, but before that, I did one more for INKR Invitationals. But not really sure what
Oh yeah,
happened.
India
But
Korea Invitational. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that was
I
it was an official event. It was where you had,
yep,
again for the viewers' reference, it was 8 Indian teams going up
yep,
against 8 Korean teams in Delhi. I was there. I got to
mhm,
watch you in person as well.
yeah.
So yeah, there was there.
So
Huh. Sorry.
So, again, why wasn't it there? I'm not really sure because at the same time, I think I wasn't really called, and I was also packed, in terms of schedule where I was already locked down for MPL, which again was like a Mobile Legend professional league in Malaysia. So I've been working with them for about 6 years. So
Right.
only about last month we finally had our official goodbyes of me parting ways with the pro league. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's why it was like, oh, once we part ways, oh, okay, my schedule is not clashing, and then let's do
Yeah.
this. I came over to BBS.
Perfect, man, and we're very glad that that was indeed the case, because yeah, we got to uh, listen to some hype casting in Kochi, and of course the difference between BGIS 2023 to BMPS 2024 was the fact that BGIS happened in Mumbai, and it was the Hindi casting that was shown to the audience there. But here in Kochi, we got to listen to the English desk. So. How was BMPS in general, man, for you? How was Kochi? How was your experience overall at the event?
Very stressful, a lot of pressure on top of me, because I have been casting for 10 years, but I have not heard my own voice commentary and casting for almost 6 years. So, like, even if the events I'm doing an MC job and anything, it wasn't esports or casting. MC jobs is just like, oh, I get to hear a speaker here, I'm on show. Like, I've done that before. So I
Right.
still have like the basics and fundamentals on how to do speaker control, crowd reactions, clarity, and stuff like that. So when I was doing BMPS, the first day I was like, it's gonna be another easy job. I'm just casting for online audience. Very easy. Hindi will take over the hype. They will follow. They'll focus on the crowd. Everything. If there's people screaming from the Hindi side, we should be screaming. Great. That was in my mind. But the moment I sat down on the day on rehearsals, we crafted, and they were like saying, guys, this time main broadcast, Hindi casters are very sad. They're complaining already. Why? Oh, they are complaining lah. Why not doing Hindi? I'm like, what do you mean not doing Hindi? oh, because Kochi is South India, people here, they prefer
Yeah.
English. Not everyone understands Hindi. I was like, so which language you gonna do? English. And I was like, huh? English?
That's the
So
weight on the shoulder all of
immediately,
a sudden.
yeah, we were having dinner, all of us, like the crafted guys, the other customers. I was sitting there like, Crafted, you have put a lot of weight on me, huh? Okay, we gotta make a very, very good show program with all the casters. And I'm like, yo, English, all right, yeah, I'll think of something. So again, when that happened, that night itself, I had to sit down with Johnny, sit down with Fixer, sit down with Necro, and we were like, guys, you do realize this is LAN, right? It's completely different from doing online. Online, you just do whatever, the sound engineer will do the tweaking. Here, it's like the sound engineer does the tweaking, also for inside and outside, but you yourself have to go outside and figure out the kinds of words you need to use. How do you talk and clarity? Because when it comes to speakers, it is gonna be somewhat muffled. If you speak too fast, it go like
Yeah.
if you speak too slow, it
Right.
becomes sleepy. So and that was the biggest struggle that I had to overcome because in terms of rotation and casting and everything, right? It was four of us and we had to rotate, and I didn't get a single time to rest that much because I was doing almost everything. So from time to time, I would sneak out, go out to the audience and listen like, hey, Necros, you got to bring up the hype because apparently gunshots outside is so loud, we cannot hear your voice. So you got to be
Yeah.
louder when gunshots. So I have to tell Necro this, I have to tell Fixers this. And then sometimes when you're talking about this, you're too soft, you're too loud because outside you can't hear it. Like I was sitting at the VIP section, right? So if VIP section can't even hear you, you can imagine all the way at the back. So all these
At the
things
back. Yeah.
were like we had to kind of tell each other, on how to
Yeah.
fix things. And luckily for us, not so luckily for Crafted, was that the first day in Kochi, there was no attendance, like literally nothing. Nobody came for the event, which again is understandable. It's a Friday, people need to go to school, blah, blah, blah. So it was a very, very good chance for us to fix our things on day number two, which we did because day two looked so much better coming from the English broadcast. And we were like, thank God we fixed it. And then day three, we get a full house. I was like, all of us are prepared. Let's go. So there was a very, very stressful time for us on how to balance out what's good, what's bad on the spot. And even because again, you can't gauge it off during day one, day two, day three. Like rehearsals was like, oh, you should have rehearsals, blah 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 blah. Again, when we did rehearsals, everything was perfect. But for some reason, some things happened during day one which we could not expect. And
Yeah.
again,
That's
when it comes to events, you have to be hot on your feet, right? You got to be like, okay, something happened, guys, figure something out. On camera, you guys don't see us like that, but in our minds,
yeah.
we're literally screaming, oh my god, dude, guys, what the hell do we do? Like, do we delay? Can we think of something right now? And like, I will have these eyes on them. They will have these eyes on me. They don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's like, yes, we can talk about data, which again, we have to do a lot of homework. And this situation
Yeah.
is where like, oh, things are not going well. Here's a piece of paper. Here's my notebook. Here's my tablet that has the full data or information which we can talk about to buy time. So yeah, that's pretty much us going through our mind. Yeah, it's a very boring thing, but it's just so much layers of thought process that we need to go through. Or I don't know about them, I need to go through in general.
I remember doing that at Battle Arena as well when we had like a false start and then they had to kind of take time to reset. And I know
Mm,
that was probably a similar case with you as well, with
mm.
map one being restarted
Yep.
on day one as well, where all of a sudden, on top of all the hype and on top of all the learnings that are coming your way, you're gonna have to buy time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, does happen in line on LAN. Murphy's law
Yep.
always kicks in, right? Like you can prep all you want, but day one, map one is always going to be something tricky that you're going to have to
Yep.
get through, and then you get to adjust as well. Another thing that I did see was in terms of changes. Day one, I saw you guys sitting down. Day two onwards, I always saw you guys on your feet. I think that was another change that you
Oh,
guys did
okay.
as well
So,
on the desk.
uh, I think day one was like they wanted us to see because it was gonna be a long day. But day
Right.
two, I think Fixers was the one that wanted to stand because he's used to doing stand casting, and
Yeah.
I agree because based on the place we're sitting, standing up was looked better on camera for
Yeah.
all of us rather than sitting down. So that's why we just stuck through it. And yeah, it gave us a little bit more freedom to like have energy, have confidence, rather than just sitting down. And I think sitting down casting, you get to be a little bit more relaxed, but at
Yeah.
the same time, you will get a little bit sleepy.
Yeah, I love doing that as well. I see. I think standing up straight up, the energy flowing down from above all the way
Mm.
below. You're always active. You're always moving
Yeah.
around. Yeah, I've found that to be, very helpful. Well, unfortunately, when I used to cast, it was mandated that you sit down and cast. So
Mm.
the cameras, the pre-show, post-show, you'd be sitting down with your jacket on. As soon as the flight goes off, stand up, pop the jacket on
Yeah.
the chair, and then you're like all hype. As soon as it finishes, as the chicken dinner is being called out, like you're hurrying through to put the jacket back on, because you have like about 5 seconds after the chicken dinner screen before you're back on again, and you have to sit back down in the frame
Okay.
and figure things out. So
I like that you actually brought this up because this is actually what goes through every single caster's mind. Like, if you have done this long enough, you would know it is funny. But for the audience who watch on stream, they don't know what's going on behind the scene. Yeah, all these
yeah.
things Shade has just mentioned, it actually happens behind the scene, right? So again, when it comes to these situations, I think the most important factor that I think you brought up was very good was that when we are standing up, we need to be energized, we need to be hyped, we need to be alert, we need to be awake, right? So if we sound
Yeah.
sleepy, we sound boring on everything, people would know. And that's where
Yeah.
crowd on audiences, when they watch, they will fall asleep. So that was one of the biggest struggles that I think we were worried about, to keep people engaged by watching the show in general.
Yeah.
So we have to always be on our feet, spot everything, be quick on the feet as well. Uh, to hype when it's needed, when to not hype when it's not needed, to be a nerd or informative when it's needed, to be a little bit more dumb and mellow when it's needed as well. So it's like playing music. There is the ups and there is the downs, right? So that is
Yeah.
very, very important for us. And I think that is something that I prioritize a lot more compared to a lot of other casters.
Yeah, and I think with the BGMI also it becomes a little tricky, because compared to
Mm,
other games where you
mm,
have action all the time, right? With BGMI,
mm, mm.
it's a much more mellow curve where things
Yep.
start off very slow. Yes, you do now and then get
Mm,
to see one or two fights, but then that's pretty much
mm,
it, right? You don't see like half the server going at it in the first five
mm,
minutes. You basically have one or two fights here and there,
mm.
kind of slowly builds up to like circle 4, circle 5, where you have like 50 alive, and then kaboom, it's like 20 alive, and kaboom, it's like chicken
Yeah.
dinner, it's over.
I
So
think that's
it's
the tricky part, right? For
yeah.
us as a casters, like we always want to give you our best, but for us, the most important thing is we always pray for two things: the players to play at their best, and the cameraman to catch those moments. Because
Yeah.
you must understand, it's not like a two-team 5v5 where you only focus on 10 players. This is 16 teams. Each team has four. That's about 64 players. For a cameraman to capture every single moment is near impossible. And we always pray for like really, really good cameras, or in this case, the director or producer. I don't really know the role. And BMPS, we were very, very lucky that day one, day two, we were able to capture legendary moments from Simp coming from Godlike and Joker from Export. And I think that was like, oh my god, our cameraman is amazing. And because of them, that gives us like such amazing views, we were able to like cast and talk about things in the game itself. So yeah, it comes hand in hand. Cameraman has to be good, players need to be good, casters, then only we can perform.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, giving you that platform is very important, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, observing in BGMI is at the highest level very tricky to be able to
Mm.
find the right angles. A lot of times you would think, hey, one fight, one kill missed, you're like, hey, there's still the drone view going on. Why is that the case? But
Mm.
it is from an understanding that, hey,
Mm.
there is multiple fights that are going to break out. Chances are you're going to
Mm.
see one frag, but you're not going to get
Mm.
the overall picture on
Yep.
how that fight is developing, right?
Yep.
And a lot of times I remember there were multiple fights where, there was fourth party, fifth party, and then finally like the
Yep.
sixth team that lives out. Having that aerial view for most of that fight
Mm.
meant that we kind of had an inclination of who are the teams looking into
Yep.
that area when they are striking in, how they are striking in, what kind of
Mm.
utility is being used, instead of just
Mm.
catching the frag at the end. So I completely understand.
I have to give credits as well. I think I like that you actually brought up those moments. I know what you're talking about as well.
Yeah,
The production company from BMPS is Tesseract Esports, I believe.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I swear their cameraman is one of the best. Like whoever is in charge of director and observing those cameras angles on the fights for BMPS is the best I've seen out of any BGMI. Like I was like, wow, like they got really good storyline. They were able to zoom into this players, the teams, and when this thing is happening, immediately a camera zooms out into this other player that is watching this house, and I'm like usually things like this, it's very hard to kind of coordinate. And the
yeah.
way they did it was so smooth in terms of transition. I was like, what the hell did this guy feed you? Like, how are you guys able to spot everything to the details? I'm like, wow, that was just amazing work. Amazing work.
Yeah, yeah, and it was amazing work by you as well. I see, like you mentioned, 18
Okay.
maps in a row, dude. That was hats off, man. But it does cause fatigue, right?
Mm.
And overall, it does affect. I would say in one way or the other. At the end of the day, I have done events where I've casted 6 maps a day.
Mm.
That sixth map is no fun to look forward to. At
Mm.
that point of time, you're just going with the flow. I have felt in situations where I have casted that, hey, if I probably had done lesser, this map 6 would have been absolutely baller.
Mm.
But I had to kind of, mellow it down in
Mm.
multiple. This one just
Mm.
so I could make it to the end of the show. What do you think could be improved in scenarios like this moving ahead? I see.
A lot of things to actually talk about. If you're talking about casters, there's nothing mentally able to prepare to you but having a healthy body. So exercising, building those stamina, teaches you lessons in life. And what I mean by those lessons, it actually trains your mental resilience, right? Your mental fortitude. So if you can push through working out 3 hours, 4 hours nonstop, especially with just gym, in my case, I like rock climbing, bouldering, and such like that. Can you go through that 3, 4 hours and hours and not complain about tired, pain, or anything, and just push through it? That's a very, very good way to help forecasters. And for players, again, exercising is one thing, but can you game for hours without feeling fatigued? Are you able to focus? All these things you have to really train and prepare for, right? So all these mental aspects, it comes down to how well the coaching staff handles
Yeah,
those kind of expectations and the players themselves, how they handle it, right? So there are some players, they are egoistic. There are some players, they are a little bit lazy or stuff like that. It comes down to how well the team kind of understands each other to overcome their obstacles. And if they don't fix the mental aspect, it doesn't matter how good you are. So the most important thing in the team is that before everybody's skills, everybody must be in the same page first. Same mental space before they work about their skills on how they can compensate each other.
correct. And like you mentioned, I completely agree with the casting bit as well. A lot of casters today, they've started off in a very good space. Like you got to do like two BO3s, life's
Mm.
good. I remember back in the day, an entire 2 day Dota event, which had
Mm-hmm.
close to like 40 teams, had to be finished in 2 days. And
Mm.
the event would require like 15 hours of casting a day. And you would
Mm-hmm.
just go by match after
Yep.
match after match. What that I would say prepared a lot of people, including me, was how to kind of conserve energy, when to
Mm-hmm.
hype, when not to hype, and
Yep.
how to see, because at the end of the day it's not just casters, right? It's the audience as well who's watching,
Yep.
or you hope is watching for 15 hours with you, so you don't really want to
Mm-hmm.
drain them out as well in like straight
Yep.
2-3 matches, and they're like, hey dude, I got my fix, I'm too tired now. You gotta have
Okay.
to take them through that journey as well, so I think that is
I
something
think
that
I think I
that
kind of disagree. I kind of disagree.
okay,
So 15 hours of casting for me, people will fall asleep if it's too slow, too boring. People will turn off when
fair.
they're too slow and too boring. And one thing in my profession that I've realized is that I always pray for one thing again: the best players, the best plays, and the best camera angle. And if you get
Yeah,
a really, really good moment, or in this case, we call a clip, right? In gamer terms, we call it the perfect clip. Our job as a caster is to hype them up so good, give them like maybe goosebumps, emotions, maybe hype, maybe just some sort of energy that people will be like watching that and like they jump off their seats and it's like, whoa! And that is good enough to keep them attached to the show for an hour. So
yeah,
for us, if you give them the energy, they would stay throughout the entire show. Because think about it, right? If you go to a concert or Bruno Mars concert or Taylor Swift concert for 3 hours, 4 hours, do you feel tired for the entire 3 hours? No, because you paid money to go there and listen to some music for hours and runs and like that, right? So would
right.
you just go off? It's because they did an amazing job. So again, our job as casters, we're also like our own little version of artists where there's 15 hours. I'll make sure you do not get off this seat for 15 hours knowing that this game is going to be great. And again, I always pray for this: good players and good production. Because if that is possible, I will make it happen. If the players
Right.
are good, top tier, it's so fun to watch them. And I won't get tired. I won't get bored. I'll be able to give you guys the energy, excited, like just now, like now, I'm giving you some excitement. You're like, I see, he's just ranting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, no, I completely get it, man. Like everyone who's watched
Mm,
Dota for a long time remembers the play, right?
mm.
Where smoke around is the name of the game, with Nagas, with the song of the siren walking in and the
Oh,
turnaround. If you remember
yeah.
the
Yeah, I
the
know what you're
House
talking about. There
Juggernaut
was one down
turnaround,
bottom.
Dendi Rubik. Yeah, the one on
Yeah,
bottom
yeah,
lane,
yeah.
Dendi Rubik, Steel, turn back, Ravage. So, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
those kind of moments are what you live for, man. You want
Exactly.
moments like that. And having a moment like that per game definitely doesn't hurt. People are going to, like, we're talking, when was this? This was 2013, man. We're talking about it
Yeah.
11 years later.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly, right? So that's why it's so important to build the moment. And for us casters, we always live for one thing: 15 hours to find that one moment. And in order to
yeah,
perform at the moment, we need to be on our feet every single time, because you don't know when one of these clips will be a life changer for the players and for ourselves. And if we don't
yeah.
deliver that moment for them, that player will lose out in opportunities as well as for us. So
Okay.
that's why it's very, very important to be very focused on the bigger picture and to give you that movie. It's like making a movie, right? Like a movie is graded high because of the skills of the actors, the skills of the writer, and the skills of the cameraman to portray those emotions. If the actor is
Correct.
great but the script is bad, that actor can't do anything. So it's the same for sports as well. We always pray for this. Again, best cameraman, no production issues, and the play. We always play for the play. And if it happens, we will just go into a zone. Like I think in BMPS general, I had two zone moments. One was with Necro, one was with I Super Johnny. And both of them were the solo
There's
clutches
the
of
Simp and Joker plays.
Simp and Joker. So I was
Yeah.
very lucky to be part of it, and it was just like me and Necro clicked. Both of us, like, if whatever differences here, I held on to him. I put my hands on his shoulder, and I was like,
We did
he
see the
knows
clips,
what's
by
up.
the way. Crafton did post the behind the scene with the clip on top and with the IRL
Yeah. So
footage
that was with
below.
me and Johnny, but I had one with Necro as well. But that wasn't
I
posted
see.
by Crafton. I wasn't
Right.
recorded as well. So I went up to him and I said, The moment I did this and hugged him, he knows, I know, we were still casting. This is the clip. And he was like,
It's
he
happening,
went all
dude.
out,
It's
and
happening.
I was like trying to find a way to make him sound good, make him look good, excel the plays, and that's where it came out. 2 bullets and a dream. That's how Sim won the game. He only had 2 bullets left in that final fight to clutch the chicken dinner. But again,
Right.
Hindi didn't catch that. It's okay. I don't blame them. But for English, we pay attention to details. And then I was like, okay. And then with Johnny, it was the same. Johnny was like, in my mind, I didn't see the clip, but I saw the camera angle where Joker was was like being a little rat behind the bush.
Yeah.
I went to Johnny and was like, I think this is a clip. Like there wasn't like no communication. It was just me holding him. It was like, I think this is a clip. I just straight up, if you watch my stream on that clip, it was like, I was trying to say Johnny and Joker at the same time. So it ended up like, So I gave this anxious sound voice on the stream, and he immediately, like he wasn't like, he was in his zone talking commentary like normal, and he was like, why am I sounding like this? I was like, is something wrong with me? So he looked at me, and I was like, this is it. And then I started,
Here we go.
shh. I started, shh, be very quiet. So instead of normal casting or hype, I went in for a whisper casting to sell Joker's mind. So instead of talking
Absolutely.
about the game,
I
I
mean, the play
straight
had
up,
theatrics.
yeah. So I straight up just talked about Joker's emotions inside his feelings, right? So when
Yeah.
I brought that conversation, the first thing that Johnny did was look at Joker's facial expression. And then I was like, okay, he's gotta be shaking. Like in my mind, I think he's gonna be shaking here. There's so many people, he's stuck, he's in trouble, but he's throwing nades and he's about to kill somebody. In my mind, that was what was going through. And then Johnny spotted something. Joker was smiling on the camera. And I was like, that is the most perfect setup that he did for me and I did for him. It was like, we just kept going on and on. Like we knew that that was the clip. That was the moment. And the moment Joker got it, we both just lost it. Straight up, like, oh my god. Like, why we were so excited was, one, Joker did amazing. Two, we both knew we were in sync. And we did one
Right.
of the sickest things ever. So that was an experience that we just could not describe between me and Johnny.
And
It's something like, I don't know. It's like you hanging out with Roman, and then both of us was just in the zone. It's just undescribable.
yeah, yeah. That is one of the beauty of esports, right? And why we work
Mm-hmm.
there. It's moments like that give
Yeah.
goosebumps not just to the viewers but to the people creating it as well. So I think the the moment itself and the passion in which you talked about it kind of
Mm.
mirrors that. So was amazing, man. All right, let's go back to BMPS and we'll talk a little bit more of your predictions. You did have all the casters do their predictions on day one, day two, day three before the start of each of the days. And you were with Team Limra on day one
Yeah.
and day two.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, towards day three, they did start picking things up. They
Yep.
started playing really well
Mm-hmm.
as well. But day three, you said X-Park. I think that was kind of what everybody were rooting for. I think at
Yeah.
the before the beginning of day three, especially after the 3 chicken
Mm.
dinner onslaught
Mm.
that they put on day two. I think
Mm.
it was pretty clear. But why Team
Mm.
Limra going into day one and day two?
Okay.
Was
So
there something that you expected from them?
okay, there is a specific reason why grand finals is always going to be different from semi-finals or online or everything, right? There's the mental pressure, there's the hunger, there's the drive and everything, right? So day one, day two, I went for Limra for one reason, because they are very tactical, they're very strategic, and they're very low
Yeah,
key on the stream. So one thing I really liked about watching in game is that it's not what's on the screen, it's the teams that what's not shown on the screen that really attracts me, right? So one thing I've realized is that at that time, Limra was a team that they like to be low key. They are always focusing on the bigger picture, placement points and calculated finishes. And I thought when the grand finals came, they were gonna do well First few games, we saw them do a little bit good, and then they fumbled and they went back to original plan. And I was like, okay, maybe there is some fixing that needs to be done. Which again, if they go back original plan means that they are trying to play safety. They want to play a little bit of a backup plan. Maybe they saved up like some new strategy for day number two. Day two came and I saw no changes, and I was like, I'm very disappointed, Nimra. I'm straight up. This is not how you're gonna win a championship. Like, there's no way playing safety night, getting top 5 is gonna give you any a championship title, right? So after that, I was like, okay, X-Pac did his own thing, and I was like, okay, X-Pac is gonna win this 100%. Just because momentum. Okay? You have to think about the headspace of the pro players. Skills can get you so far, macro can go you so far. But the trust and bond between your teammates to push through obstacles is very, very important. Godlike did really well in game 1. X-Pac, we were like, they're gonna go out. Alright? Like, no one expected X-Pac to kind of do one of the biggest comeback in history, right? 2, out of nowhere, I think they got like 86 points in a single day, whereas Godlike has got 68 on the first day. So, and Godlike did really bad. They had only like 30, 40 points on day number 2. And that's where I know, like, there's no way Godlike comes back from that. Because if
and
you
that is
put
after
yourself...
map 1 chicken dinner.
Yeah. So, again, it comes down to situations they were put in. Godlike, dominating from the start. And if you run a marathon, there's a sprinting, correct? If it's a long run. If you sprint so fast, and then when you reach the middle point, you get tired and you get a little bit sloppy. And what I mean by sloppy is that you were performing at your 100% for the longest of time, but once you reach the halfway mark, you're only human. You're not a super robot where you can just keep on running on max speed all the way through. Not many people can do that. And if let's say a tilt comes in or some really, really, I would say unfortunate event comes in day number 2, it will affect the mind. It's not about the body. It's not about the comms or anything. It's this thing, right? Do you still trust your teammates enough to not get pissed, to not get angry, to just focus on the bigger picture? Trust each other. Just keep playing through. And then day 2, Godlike didn't really do that. You know, after the first game, it was just like them trying to win their fights, struggling to break through, and we also see a lot of teams starting to like, we need to shut down the top team so that we can overcome. Yeah. So it's just them getting bashed and bashed and bashed, right? So again, marathon. When you're first running and sprinting, nobody can catch up to you. But when the middle of the pack here, where you're starting to get tired, people start to chase up, they will find ways to kind of sabotage you. And that's where it hurts the most. It matters the most. This is where the trust comes into play. So X-Pac, why I believe they were going to win? Because in X-Pac's position, they had one of the worst first days. But you know what I saw them did? They were outside chilling, you know, going for food outside, just walking. None of them were so stressed, and none of them were like getting angry, trying to argue or whatever. They were just chilling, relaxing, you know, just eating, you know, we're just here for the show and just focus on what's got the picture. And then day 2, when they boomed up, I was like, okay, that team's gonna win. Like, the moment go day 3, like, I wanted to believe in the story as well. Like, who makes a comeback like that? And then it came down between Newman, Godlike, and X-Pac. And I'm really sorry about Newman because they were so low-key for the first 3 days. But Godlike and X-Pac was just the star of the show. But to me, is this 3 just fighting for number 1 spot? And there were just so many Godlike moments, and there were just so many X-Pac moments that Newman Forever just got overshadowed, even though they are a very, very decent team. It's just really unfortunate.
True. Though Team Limbra didn't really get a lot of chicken dinners. We did see some fun heel battles thanks to Hesperos finding multiple first aids outside the zone and chilling for so long. It was fun this one. But, and like you said, Newman were one of those silent teams who didn't really were not really in the limelight for the most of it, but they were just getting the job done, man, and they were always in that top 3 in the hunt. and they did manage to secure second, 1 point over Godlike. So
Mhm.
there was a very good finish for them as well. Uh, all right. So we've talked a fair bit about the top three teams, right?
Mhm.
So if I were to put you on the spot and say, hey, if you had to pick one team whose performance was not up to your expectation, and one team whose performance exceeded your expectations, who would they be?
A team that did not perform up to my expectation is TWOB. Because I've seen them play in the semifinals when I was watching the replays as well. This is a team that is very disciplined and very calculated, and they're very aware of their surroundings, right? But this entire grand finals, it felt like they were lost, and they kept trying new things to a point that they stopped focusing on their basics and fundamentals, which I think was kind of what turned me off a little bit for TWOB. Which I hoped like TWOB was able to like just regain composure, focus on yourselves rather than reacting to other people. So that was me. And then the one that I did not expect to perform really, really well was Inferno Squad, because it's like they were one of the bottom
Yeah.
teams. Day one, holy cow, you're in top five. And then day two, consistent, but kind of fumbling a little bit. Day three, kind of, well, let's not talk about day three because it was just X Spark Godlike show all the way through. Inferno Squad was there or not there. I don't know because the
However,
point gap was already too far.
however, however, they did map number 18. It was Inferno Squad who
Mm-hmm.
did that drop clash onto X-Pac trying to spoil their plans. They did get two
Uh,
players down.
no, that's Ignite, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it Ignite or was it Inferno Squad?
I
I
think
might
it
be
was
wrong.
it was Ignite Gaming.
It was Ignite. All
I'm
right,
pretty
my
sure it was
bad.
Ignite. Yeah,
My
yeah.
bad.
Inferno Squad is
Okay,
just doing their own
so
thing. It's Ignite. Yeah.
right, right. And
So
of course, you did mention TWOB as well. TWOB, I
mhm,
think, started off very slow.
mhm,
Towards the second half of the grand finals, they did start playing well. In fact, I remember
mm,
Legit had a couple of very good moments as well
mm.
in those maps, some really good fights. But I think it was a question of too little too late at that point of time, where,
So
it was just going to.
yeah. Again, the reason why I felt like that is more like if you watch a game and you just watch the game long enough, it's not about the mechanics, it's not about the decision making, it's not about the like the way they move and the way they play, right? And every single team has their own individual characteristics. And for a caster, when you watch it long enough, you can feel the emotions of specific teams. And
Yeah,
for me, when I felt TWOB, it felt like desperation, trying to force things, trying to do something. And it felt like they were just very eager, very jumpy. And because of that
right,
decision, they made a lot of stupid mistakes. I wouldn't say stupid mistakes, I would say aggressive mistakes that cost them certain fights.
right.
So I would say they're like I think the right term would be trigger happy, not trigger discipline.
Huh, yeah,
So that's what it gave me that idea, and which it's not wrong because semifinals, whenever they see someone, they will win that fight, which is not wrong, but they were just kind of tunnel vision in a situation where whatever we see, we gotta just shoot and win, and then
right.
hope to pray for the best, which was very disappointing for me.
So yeah, that was pretty much BMPS. We had, so much
Mm.
fun, man. 3 days. I absolutely enjoyed watching the matches. Kind of still in a hangover phase after that. Uh, but I see now that pretty much means, you've casted some of the top tournaments in the SEA scene in PUBG Mobile, and now
Mhm.
you've casted some massive events,
Mm.
flagship ones in India as well for BGMI. If you had to kind of compare the two, what do you think are some of the key differences there? I see.
Skill cap of the game is
Hmm.
definitely going to be there. Going to be a big difference because if you want to compare the sea levels of Southeast Asia levels, the
Yeah,
events basically, you're competing with players with a different region that you may or may not know about, which gives it that
yeah,
unknown factor. And because of that unknown factor, you have to plan for unexpected things. Whereas for BGMI, you're planning for teams that you've already faced off before with a lot of data. You can just keep reusing it over and over again. So I think that's one that is going to be a little bit different. The variety of teams that's going to be competing. Second one would be, I would say overall production value, because in BGMI we still trying to have that LAN studio presence or even a LAN presence here between English broadcast and the rest. And for C now, we have gotten to a point there a lot of people started using online, which again now what we're doing is kind of like an online kind of thing, that it becomes not super engrossed, or in this case, how do I put it? Interactive to begin with. Like, you don't get that vibe where, oh, this
It's
is
not
a
like a
big
LAN vibe. It's more of like
Yeah,
LAN
yeah,
add-on
yeah,
itself
yeah.
for the other one. Correct.
Yeah. So a LAN vibe is the most important selling point when it comes to casting, broadcast, or whatever. Online
Yeah.
can give you like a warm up and everything, but when the closing or the finisher, and if it's still online, you won't get that impact where people want to watch you, or like people want to watch and hear the crowd screaming out and crazy, or
Yeah.
the audience reaction where like, oh my god, like. And again,
Yeah.
thanks to cameraman coming from BMPS, those moments where they capture the moments where like, oh my god, like wow, and it made me happy because again, English was on Gochi, on LAN, and if they are giving this kind of reactions, yes, our English commentary is doing something right,
There were a lot of moments like that where the crowds were absolute hype, and the beauty was throughout the broadcast. If you see, there was the host interacting with the audiences, teams at the end. Xpark went and interacted with the audience as well. So this, I think that is what adds that flair of
Yeah.
having any other online event versus like a massive LAN,
Yep,
right?
definitely.
So yeah, I mean, no questions. I've seen some amazing PUBG Mobile online productions as well. Those beautiful virtual stages. But I think all of that still can't replace just being on LAN, right? And
Yeah.
having that crowd
Yeah.
kind of be the extra man in the
Yep.
broadcast, adding that value. So yeah,
Yeah.
I completely relate to that. I see.
That that
All
that
right.
value is so important when it comes to
Yes.
emotions. And
Yes.
online, there's only so much both of us can do without any crowd
Correct.
screaming or everything. It's there's only so much we can do.
Correct. Correct. Absolutely, man. Uh, During the broadcast, you did say something that I would say also created some sparks beside Xpac, was the English over Hindi comment. Could you elaborate a little bit on that, I see?
Okay, so I think the biggest I don't really understand the Hindi commentary. Because I don't watch Hindi, right? But I've watched the flow, or in terms of the energy. And
Right.
I've also talked to a lot of people that they told me that uh, English commentary is a bit like this, up and down, whereas
It's a
Hindi is a little
sinusoidal
bit
wave.
more mellow because uh, it comes down to the target audience, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, I liked my show to be hype and wow-ish, because I would fall asleep if I hear someone just talking on a monotonous tone for like hours, which is again a mellow tone. So I don't think what Hindi side is doing wrong, but at the same time, Hindi side is also something that what the audience wants. So it
Yeah.
comes down to um, what the audience wants and what the casters can deliver in order to produce a product. So in my side, we were just lucky that we were able to produce something. And
Yeah.
even though Necro, Johnny, and Fixers, they would like to do things that what they did, which is a very mellow thing, I came in and I told them, I don't like Mellow. I'm sorry. If you want to work with me, you have to go follow my way. And yes, I sounded like a absolute asshole or a dick, whatever. Mind my language. But I told them the reason why we're doing this is because I don't want to fall asleep and I don't want to do this because I have like very, very low attention span. If you don't give me something to emphasize on or everything like that, I would fall asleep. Like if you don't give me a very good story with emotions, I would fall asleep. And for me,
Fair.
when it comes to esports, the most important thing to talk about and capture is the emotions, the excitement, the sadness of the players or everything. And if we are all robots, what the hell are we casting? Why the hell are we watching this? You know? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was something that I kind of instilled it with them. And I think they tried, but I don't know how it turned out. Was it great? Was it bad? I don't really know. But in the end, like so far I've gotten like really good feedbacks. But yeah, I think that's pretty much
No,
it.
no,
I don't know about the Hindi
it
side. Yeah.
it was good. I see. Like we said, I'm someone who always likes a lot of hype. Um I feel that is what a reason why we're called shoutcasters and not commentators is the fact that you
Mm,
bring the hype, right?
mm,
When
mm,
needed, and more often than not, as compared to traditional
mm.
commentators.
Yeah.
And I think even with Hindi, I think it's more of the fact that it's the forecasters who are there in the official desk. They've seasoned with each other. The
Mm,
audience is also seasoned along with them. Right now, it's gotten to a point where hey, that is what we want. And I understand. Like even I've watched Hindi broadcasts for a while now,
mm.
along with English, and that is something that I've started to vibe to as well. So I think very different styles, but I think there is kind of merit on both ends, right? On
Yeah.
the ups and downs of both. So awesome, man. Now let's get back to your story, man. We've talked a lot about
Yeah.
BMPS, BGMI, so we'll park that aside for now. Let's talk a little bit about MLBB, man. Like in
Oh
SEA,
wow.
after PUBG Mobile, everyone knows you for your work in MLBB. You were the official caster. Like you said, what is it like? How I don't know how many years?
6 years.
6 years? 5 years?
Yeah, I was
Six,
6 years
6
with
years.
I was
Oh,
6 years with MPL from season 3 all the way to season 13. So that's 10
wow.
seasons, 2 seasons a year. So it's roughly around
Yeah.
there. About 6 years.
That's
Uh
a lot of MLBB, man. So
yeah.
how did we've talked about how you started your casting, got PUBG PC, PUBG Mobile. Uh,
Mhm.
I think we did miss out on Overwatch because we did hang when, with MBT as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh
Uh,
wow. I think I've only ever like done one or two Overwatch games in Malaysia,
yeah,
but yeah, it wasn't. Again, I'm a caster. I'll cast whatever games, and if there's any opportunity for me to continue my career, I'll do it. Uh, but yeah, again, it comes down to popularity, right? Like if people likes this game, they
yeah,
watch for this game, they want to attend events. It comes down to what the community wants, and that's where the game becomes popular. So if the community doesn't watch this game, it's really pointless to be casting the game. Like let me give you an
agreed.
example. Uh, I don't know. Like for example, let's say Tetris speedrun or Candy Crush esports tournament. Which if there's nobody watch, what's the point of having the tournament, right?
Well, I did run into something something that I didn't know existed. I watched GeoGuessr World Championship. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
I've
was
seen
like,
some geo guesses as
wow.
one.
I didn't know there
So
was a World Championship for it.
again, even if there's a tournament, if nobody watches it, it's kind of pointless. But I get where you're getting at as well. The GeoGuessrs one, it kind of sparked my interest because how the hell do these people know every single detail of the planet? That is very, very impressive. So again, I think it comes down to emotions. And in this case, our emotions when it comes to GeoGuessrs tournament is curiosity. So
Yeah,
if a tournament without emotion is played, what's the point of watching the tournament?
fair, fair.
Yeah.
Completely agree. I see. All right, now back to MLBB. How did that happen? brother. Into MLBB so many years. Do you like the game? Do you play MLBB? Like, what's the jam there?
Uh, wow. Yeah, that's the thing. Whatever games that I cast, I will put in a lot of effort to play the game to a certain level. I'm pretty decent in ML for sure because I've been playing it for like 5 years. Uh, I would say worshiply. I would say what's the right word for it? I would say
Uh,
religiously. Sorry, yeah. I play the game
Religiously.
religiously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because of my work, right? So at the time I was doing ML, I don't read like ever since I jumped into MPL, that is where it started to kind of slow down for me when I was
Mhm.
offered opportunity with PUBG Mobile. So at that time when I was going to China with PUBG Mobile here and there, the schedules wasn't really clashing with MPL. But over like season 7, season 8 onwards, this is where you start to kind of see me fade away from PUBG Mobile. Is because schedules were always clashing. Like if I'm casting in MPL, I can't cast for PUBG Mobile. If I can cast for PUBG Mobile, I can't cast for MPL. So it came down to who came first, and I'm a first come first serve basis. MPL chose me, valued me, stayed with MPL. So that's why after that I kind of dwindled off PUBG Mobile, and they didn't really bother to call me as well. And it's fine. It's fine by me if they never gave me that opportunity. Which again now after I've left MPL and now Crafton gives me an opportunity, I'm very grateful that you still remember me. But yeah, it's just I just go where it flows, I guess.
Right. And could after like, what is it, 10 years, like you said, right? So many years, 5 years now, you've decided to move away from MLBB. Why
Six
the
years, yeah.
decision? 6 years. So why the decision, I see? What was the thought process behind that? And
I
what
I, I
is it in the pipeline for you?
I don't understand my pipeline, but the decision was kind of mutual as well, coming from me and Munton, where they tried to do things and I tried to do things. It was just wasn't really working out, and it felt like after doing for 5 or 6 years in ML, I wasn't growing as a caster. I wasn't growing as a talent. I wasn't everything. Like don't get me wrong, my colleagues was just at that time was just amazing. They are top tier casters for a reason. I've learned so much from them in terms of the technical aspect of casting and growing. But what I wasn't growing was doing content or social media and stuff like that. And as you can see, after I've left, I come to BGMI, I immediately get some content. And
Yeah.
why was it? Was because as a talent, I think the most important thing was that we want to feel appreciated by the community and also by the organizers. And when I left MPL, yes, we had our farewell and everything, but it still felt like I wasn't appreciated as a talent for 5 years. And it wasn't from Moonton in general, it wasn't by the casters in general. It came down to a fact that the community just didn't vibe with me. And that's where I said, like, maybe this is not my stage. I should try somewhere else. So, like for BGMI, I think I was much more valued here. And I'm like, because I can feel all this support from the fans, I was able to set the stage, set some clips for you guys that I didn't know it was gonna get viral or anything. But yeah, I'm just very grateful that I was given opportunities like that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's very important, right? As a caster as well, there is
Mm.
multiple things, the reasons why we start doing this, and there is multiple reasons why we continue doing it, right? At
Mm.
the end of the day, if it is not something that we look forward to, or the reasons why we are doing it is just not there, it becomes very hard to kind of keep going at it,
Yeah.
however professional one may be. I am that person as well, right? It's like, it is professional, it is work, but at the end of the day there is an emotional factor that is involved as well, and which is why we are doing this in the first place over like a 9 to 5 desk job. So as long as that is not kind of taken care of, at the end of the day, you do go like, hey, why am I still doing this, right? And you don't it's when you don't have a very good answer to it, like, it's
Yeah.
time to go try something else. So Completely valid, I see. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about Valorant, man. I mean, you and I got our first opportunity cast together in Valorant, though. Like now we've learned, we've done the same Dota event back in the day as well. We've been at events where either you and I have casted, and we finally got to cast together. It was 2020. We did an event with Playtonia, I remember.
Oh
It was
my
an
god, how the hell do you
awesome
remember all these
experience.
dates? Oh, I actually don't remember all this, but all right, great. Okay,
Yeah,
you've done a
it
lot of homework.
was
That's crazy.
it was super fun. We casted, and then it so happened that when we started Penta, you casted our first event as well, which also happened to be a Valorant event, the Penta Esports Valorant Invitational in 2021. I believe it was June.
What
So
was it like? Global esports versus Velocity, right?
it
Or
was Global
VLT?
Esports versus Velocity. You had
Yeah, that
the
was like the
infamous
top two teams.
yeah, we had a legendary moment there in map number one of the grand finals where Velocity tried to put a timeout and they surrendered. One of the best
Oh,
moments
oh yeah.
with you going, what is happening? Why did we stop? And then you look at the players, they're laughing on the cameras, and you're like, wait a second. And then, we had the production queue come in saying, this is what happened. Vibor, infamously, I got to talk to Vibor as well later on about it. He was the culprit apparently behind it. Who, there was, it so happened, it did lead to Riot eventually actually moving the buttons away. So apparently the timeout and the
Oh,
surrender buttons were right next to each other, and it was a misclick. And now
oh yeah, yeah.
it's actually put apart now. So what a fun time it was, I see. So yes, it's like so much history there in Valorant as well for you. But I haven't really seen much of you doing Valorant events since then. Any plans to do more Valorant in the future, I see?
Again, if I'm given the opportunity, it's I would like to try again. But again, I think there isn't a lot of Valorant tournaments in Malaysia and even in Southeast Asia. I think I haven't been contacted before, which it's fine because I haven't really done a lot. And I think most of my Valorant tournaments has been coming from casting India, which again I enjoy. But yeah, again, because I was stuck with MPL for like 6 years,
Yeah.
and a lot of schedules will clash, and I think a lot of opportunities were kind of stopped for me. I had to reject because of clashing with MPL, and I needed to focus all my dedication and commitments to MPL every single time. Which again, I've lost a lot of opportunities because I was so busy with MPL. So now with MPL gone, I have gotten a little bit more opportunities to work with a lot of different people now. It may not be consistent, but it gives me opportunities to try things that I'm not used to. Because when I was working MPL, I swear to God, I am too spoiled. I am too spoiled to a T where I don't need to do too much to focus on what I need to do. Everything has been prepared for. Like they have a script writer, here's day one. This is all the teams. Team one, team B. They're gonna be having. You can talk about these points. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't need to do my homework. All right, thank you. I just read your paper. Thank you. So yeah, again,
Served on a
I
silver
think
platter.
yeah, it was served on a silver platter. And then when I come to BMPS, I'm going to here. I'm like, oh wait, I have to do grunt work again. What is grunt work? Watch back. I think when I was on the flight to Kochi, it was like a 16 hours flight and I had a long transit or something
Oh
like that. I
wow.
downloaded 4 videos of the semifinals, day one, day two, day three, day four, sat there like an idiot and watch everything, write down points of what I want to say during the grand finals on day one. After that, never used it for day two, day three anymore. But again, all this raw data work needs to be like there's a reason why you hire a script writer to do stuff like that. But I had to
Yeah.
do the grunt work and I was like, yeah, sure. And then while I was doing this, okay, how if I were to cast with Fixers, how would I have to gel with him? I had to watch John ISO for Johnny, I had to work with Necro. And again, I haven't worked with them for like I've worked with them before. It's easier to work with Johnny and Necro because we've worked before. So we kind of know what we
Yeah.
want from each other. And then for Fixers, it was like first time I was like, okay, how do we gel with this? And I'm like, it was a really, really tough struggle. And I think, yeah, that kind of summed up my BMPS journey. But yeah.
Fair man. Perfect. Next, of course, you talked about the amount of casts that you are a part of. It's a very
Mm.
hectic schedule. Either you're casting, which in itself takes up a lot of your time, and
Yep.
when you're not, you have to spend a lot of time prepping for it, right? Watching wards,
Yeah.
understanding what other players are doing, ensuring that you're up to speed with whatever transfer news, personal news, all of that, right?
Mm.
And it does take a toll after a point of time
Yep.
on you, right? So,
It does.
would you say your casting career has affected your personal life in any way? And how do you balance
Mm,
it if it hasn't?
I think casting has definitely changed my life for sure. Where I started prioritizing games over everything else because it is a commitment, right? Like so, um, do I have the most perfect work-life balance? Not necessarily, but I think after COVID onwards and things kind of took a little bit turn for me where I needed to focus on balancing both
Right.
because it has affected me and my family over here. I kind of drifted off apart with relationships and my family's closeness and everything. So I was more focused on my career. So I think 2 years ago is where I started having a very very important commitment, which is going to the gym and working out. So I started my bouldering journey. I go for like almost 2 years now, 1.5 years now, which is also I don't know why for some reason December, also December. So uh yeah, this end of December is going to be like my 2 year anniversary of my journey for rock climbing as a workout gym. So every week I'll force myself to go to the gym once, twice, three times every week without fail. And then after that, I focus on my body. It helped me think a little bit more rational and then able to prioritize and organize things a little bit better. So when it comes to balancing, why when to focus on work and when to focus on your personal life, you need to be very clear on what's important and what's not important. Like once you're able to identify that, it makes things very very easier. And in order to do that, you need to have a very level-headed mind, or in this case, a very tough uh, mindset. If that makes sense, a very very tough mindset
Right.
to identify what's important and what's not important in the moment where again life is tough, time is very very stressful, and if you're stressed all the time, you don't necessarily make the best decisions. So yeah.
Yeah, I can resonate with that. I think there was very little time where I think
Mm,
throughout whenever I was casting, I realized
mm,
that I was always in a world of my own. Like
mm.
whether it's preparing or casting,
Yep.
everyone thinks it's like, damn dude, glam job. Like hey dude, you get to be the voice, but it is very tiring and it requires you to
Yep.
kind of go into your own zone, right?
Yep.
So, like you said, to
Sacrificing
be
your
always ready.
nights out with your friends, definitely 100%.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. You're always in your own elements. You're in that zone. You're always like ready to go whenever there is any free time there. You're always working on
Mm.
something or the other
Yep.
to ensure that you keep your game up.
Yep.
So it's very hard. So I just wanted to understand, like I kind of gave up and I said, okay, fine, I'm not doing this anymore. So so I gave, so that was my way out. But it was very interesting to understand how you went by in balancing this out. So very glad that you've got that sorted out. I see, So moving on, fun question. Tell us something that nobody knows about you.
I really, really like anime and manga,
Okay.
and I would doom scroll them because the narratives, the way they describe the flows are so good that sometimes I try to use their manhwa or lines, dialogues into my commentary, and sometimes
I see.
it is a hit or a miss because the people who write it are either Koreans or people from Chinese, like those manga people. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Sometimes the translation can be bad. Sometimes the accent can be bad. So it came down to like, yeah, just that's it. Because I just love the stories that I use from there. Like rather than reading books, I use manga and manhwa where art style and dialogues is the selling point, and I try to use that for my commentary. Yeah, even then I'm using work. Yeah, I'm sorry. And
Fair.
music, of course.
But
Yeah,
the
love music.
but gamers liking anime and manga, not a big stretch there.
Hey,
I
fine. I
was
used to be a
expecting them.
dancer. Shut up. I know you were wanted to ask that. I know you wanted to ask me that. Like, okay, I used to be a dancer before I became a gamer, and I don't really want to pick up that past because I can't dance anymore. Shut up. You're.
That is the IC I know of. That was the response I was looking for. You went with the slightly boring. Hey, I like anime. What wait, what were you dancing?
I was a
So,
popper for about 9 years before actually coming
oh
to esports. Yeah.
wow.
I still have the moves. I still have the basics, etc. But I'm very, very rusty already. So yeah.
Got it.
I still dance from time to time in the showers here and there, but getting old, 31, not exactly in the body
Only
position
31.
to go dancing, but I still go rock climbing. So who am I kidding? But yeah.
So you being a dancer, what do you think of break dancing at the Olympics this year?
What a joke. Zero musicality, and I would say that person messed up a lot of people's bread and butter. And breakdancing losing the Olympic slot did not help because that was so freaking sad. That just literally destroyed the industry. And I think it's a very, very good example for esports to follow as well, because it doesn't matter who. It comes down to the players, the community, the team, the caster, and everything. If one of us mess things up and hurt the ecosystem, it might hurt everyone's bread and butter. And in that case, that
Yeah.
lady, oh, it's a free freaking vacation. Guess what? No more b-boy culture in Olympics. Oh no, I hate you. Yeah, whatever.
It was, in hindsight, it
That
was
was
a lot of memes. Instagram was
I
didn't
wouldn't just
really
say
need to
it's a
worry
meme,
about
it's straight up
content.
humiliation. Straight up. That was just
Yeah,
mad. Ugh.
yeah. All right. Before we go on to the fun rapid fire segment, final
Okay.
question I see. What is next for icybaby12?
Continue casting. I don't know.
Any new
I'm
games
also
you're planning?
no idea what kind of games, but I have been teaching in esports classes for primary and secondary schools in Malaysia. So I will focus whatever in that. Like on weekdays, I will be teaching esports as well, coaching them on how to become better players. What kind of mindsets they need to focus on, and I think that's something that is rarely talked about when it comes to growing up into esports. Is of the headspace and the thinking mentality. So that's what something that we kind of focus on as well. I also teach like basics and mechanics, but in between that, I also focus on casting, and whatever opportunities comes to me, I'll just take it. That's for me now to kind of focus on, and then eventually hope to maybe do well. Hope maybe a YouTube podcast and stuff like that. Which again, I've talked about this, but didn't really have the time to kind of do all these things. Which again, I'm very very mad respect to the Hindi casters, especially from Sparrow, from Ocean Sharma as well. They are just insane. They always find some time to edit their videos, and like they're so good at it. And I'm like, wow, respect, really, really respect.
Yeah, I see. You can start doing content, maybe host your own podcast, maybe have me on as one of your guests.
Maybe,
I
maybe,
would,
maybe,
well, I'll take the maybe for now.
maybe.
Wonderful.
If that comes, I would love to do it, but again, it's gonna take some time. But I will
Fair.
eventually get there. It's just when. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe after 10 years, I will do it. But just time. Just time.
Fair. And all the very best, I see, for that. We're looking forward to all the content that you plan to put out, and we will continue to eagerly follow your journey as well in the world of esports. All right, rapid fire time, I see. You know the drill.
Okay.
Easy peasy. I ask you a bunch of questions, and you just, first thing to your mind, 3 seconds, don't take more than that. Boom, out. And
Okay.
it's very, very simple. All right. Right.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay.
All right, let's go. Favorite food?
Sushi.
Favorite color?
Gold.
Favorite game? That's not 3 seconds. Hello?
I refuse to answer. I plead the fifth. I cannot be biased to any game. I play all games.
You can say BGMI.
I plead the fifth. Skip. Not. No.
Favorite co-caster?
Skip. Ooh. Wow. As of now, I Super Johnny.
Favorite car?
Mazda RX-7 FD. Type R.
Favorite
The
city?
one that Han drove in Tokyo Drift. Sorry, yeah. The one that Han drove, the orange one in Tokyo Drift.
The orange one. Yeah, the one
Yep.
that he absolutely totaled in the middle of the square.
Yep, the full drift. Yeah, that was the sexiest car. RX-7 FD Type R. The one that Han drove in Tokyo Drift.
Got it. Favorite city?
Malaysia. KL. Kuala Lumpur.
All right. Favorite streamer?
Shroud. Yeah, Shroud.
Nice.
Shroud is Timmy. Either one.
All right. Yeah, Timmy, really?
Yeah, it's Timmy. Probably Shroud and it's Timmy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Got it. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Suits. It's a TV series. I wouldn't call it a movie. Does the series count? I like to watch series more.
That's
Okay.
a different question. Favorite series, Suits, done. Favorite movie, next.
Okay. Favorite series, Suits. Favorite movie, Avengers, whatever. No, Homecoming Spider-Man. The three spiders. The reunion of who is it called? The first Peter Parker.
Yeah.
The second one was Andrew Garfield. Third one is Tom Holland. The first one, can't remember his name.
Why am I not getting his name as well? Oh God.
Oh my God. Wait. First Spider-Man. I can't believe I'm Googling this. First Spider-Man.
Yeah, I seem to have goofed up as well, so I don't know.
Actor. Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire.
Oh my God. Can't remember. We've forgotten this. Oh my God. That's so bad. He's the best Spider-Man. I forgotten his name. So bad.
That is quite the favorite movie where you don't know the lead character. God.
Oh my God.
So much for the favorite movie. Oh, man.
Well, I don't really have time to watch a lot of movies, alright? Okay. I only have time for esports now, but alright.
Fair enough. Favorite song?
Drunk by Keshi.
I've not heard it, but okay. Favorite sport besides esports?
Bouldering. Rock climbing.
Fair. Favorite LAN event? And of course, this can be India, ACA, all of it included.
BMPS 2024, 100%. Because English was broadcasted then.
Yeah. All right. That's
finally, English on that.
Yes. And I was very glad that I got to watch that as well. And yeah, I see. Thank you so much, man. I think it was crazy chat there. We got to learn a lot more about you, a lot of fun stories there. Um, how you ended up using the dating site as
A
LinkedIn.
dating app.
and, and kind of started
I was
impacting. Did you
lonely. I
even
was
take it?
sad. Please don't judge me. But all right,
it I,
you know, we do
I,
what we gotta
this
do to
is
survive, man.
I mean, you would want to do a lot of other things besides finding a job there. So, but
I was
regardless, I
still
see.
in college. I was still in college at that
Fair,
time.
fair.
Okay.
And thank you so much, IC, for joining us for this. I know you have a busy schedule. You're probably still recovering back. And I know I did say 1 hour. It's probably close to 2 hours now since you started. But time has just flown by, and the conversations have just gone by. And it just feels like we're
That's
just still
that's
getting
that's the
started,
thing
IC.
about having two casters sit in a podcast. We have endless amount of conversations to talk about here. You want to talk about life? Sure, I can give you life lessons. You want to talk about games? I can talk about games. You want to talk about life mindsets? I can give you about mindsets because ideally everything has one thing in common. You either win or you either lose. And eventually, the most important thing that matters is that whatever you do in life, you gotta do it living to your life to the fullest. Living life to the fullest. That's the most important thing. And if you don't do that, why are you living?
Fair. So, that kind of brings me to ask you a couple more things before we let you go. I know watching you cast, there's a lot of young guys out there who
Hmm.
are also thinking, hey, casting seems damn fun. I probably want to become a caster myself. So, for someone who is aspiring to become a caster today, what would be your piece of advice for people who are either starting or are planning to start in that direction, or who have just started and are trying to build their way up?
Very simple. How much are you willing to invest and how much are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to invest your time, your equipments, your money to get the perfect mic or whatever to do your casting? Are you willing to sacrifice time and effort to say, instead of going for a party, go and meet people and ask for opinions, tournaments, attend events, talk to people? How much are you willing to do that? And again, I think there are a couple ones. I think recently there was a few guys, they just shoot my shot. They just showed me a random clip of them casting. I just gave them some comments. Very simple. You want to do this? Invest some money into a good bike. Start commentating. Doesn't matter what games. Pick some random video, make clips, and then eventually, if people think you're good, you will get picked. But the most important thing is you need to keep recording to learn how to handle a mic, how to handle a camera, and then improve on your vocabulary or whatever in your recording. Because if you don't like hearing yourself, you think people like hearing yourself, same thing, different toilet. That's how you improve. That's how you get better. And again, if you don't practice and sit on it for hours just to talk about game and go into a tournament expecting people to hire you without any experience or any samples to show the bosses and anything, you're not gonna get hired.
Yeah. A lot of it, because of the fact that you're working so much and you're practicing so much, a lot of the casting becomes second nature, right? You have it on
Yep.
autopilot, and that is
Mhm.
yes, you think you're getting paid only for those hype moments. No, you're also getting paid for being that stable guy who, when is going to deliver a product that is of this standard, right? And that is only coming via experience. You've done it so much, you know the right things to say, and you just say it because you've said it so many times. So it's very important. Completely agree. And finally, any shout outs, I see?
Shout out to Crafton. Shout out to Tesseract. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to my friends, my homies. Shout out to Penta, ShaDeSLaYeR for sure for supporting me over the years because I don't know how the hell you get all those information for me and everything. Shout out to Johnny. Shout out to Necro. Shout out to Fixer. Shout out to Salty. Shout out to Ocean. Shout out to all the Hindi casters, Macy, Sparrow as
Thank
well,
you, Bob.
because without all these guys, I would not have experienced India in general. I was able to see so many things from that side. So shout out to them. And most importantly, shout out to all my friends from India. I think OG is one of those guys. Shout out to him because he took me around in Mumbai to experience India, and I really enjoyed masala papat. Amazing food, best thing ever. Shout out to Crips Cast as well for sure. That's it. Yeah, I'm done with my shout outs. Too many shout outs, but yes, thank you to everyone.
Perf- Perfect, IC. Thank you so much for again joining us today. All the very best for everything that's in store for you. I hope you continue on this journey. Sky's the limit. Go on. Hope to see you back again at the next BGMI LAN. I will definitely come down and see you there in person. So all the best for that, man, and keep killing it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.